What's up, creamies? Welcome to another episode of Ice Cream You Meme. We're doing another big SCP special.
Yeah, on accident, we found out that it's going to be like, I guess it's gonna be one of our things.
Yeah, so we're like, Netflix has just announced that they're making, what is it, SCP show?
Yeah, so like Foundation style. I think it's going to be like Black Mirror-esque, where it's like episode kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me guessing. Maybe yeah.
I feel like it's got to be like an anthology series. It's going to have to be like selected files, right, from the Foundation.
Yeah, or they could do like, did you ever watch Torchwood, the Doctor Who thing? Where it's like, I guess like it could be like a Foundation kind of, you know, like procedural cop shows and SCP stuff, where they have like different cases every time, but it's like the same people. Like maybe they could do that.
That could be it. Yeah, I mean, there are like consistent characters in the SCP stuff, so like it would make sense to have like through lines.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have like Law and Order. Oh, wait, no, what's that? CSI Las Vegas, CSI New York. We're gonna have like SCP New York, SCP Las Vegas, SCP Barcelona, Spain. Just a little hint for my thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, how are we feeling about that? Like SCPs as a thing to watch. Like I don't know how. Like, because I think it, like you run into the same issue of like the Jiu-Jitsu stuff. Like, how do you like make that as scary in movement? And then like, yeah,
and also like the spirit of SCP, I do like the very like indie, collaborative, everybody's making stuff just to make stuff attitude. So there's a little bit of me that's kind of like the cynical, like, well, it just feels a little cash grabby. I mean, I'd love to see, like, I'd love for like the people that contribute to SCP to get paid for what they do. I think that they're what makes the community, and what makes the art. Yeah, and I was also like, you know, we've covered some silly SCPs. Mine's a little bit of a silly Billy today. Do you think those will be included, or do you think they're going to try to make it very like straightforward, like Siren Head, scary, you know, type shit?
I think like they'll have like those like filler episodes. It's like, oh, today we're going to IKEA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that must be like, oh yeah, we've had a dark run of like this very creepy individual for like 3 episodes long now. Let's do a side thing where like the beloved side characters get to go inside of IKEA and then like make it out alive kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Like how are they going to capture like watching the Shaggy Dog haunted DVD? But it's like a valid part of SCP, like the goofiness is there.
Because it's not all serious business, right? That's the fun of like an SCP of like something like absurd. Like I do want to know like the Shaggy Dog one and then like the NBA one that I have in my pocket, right? How would they do that? Yeah,
I mean that's a good question, and I hope that they do bring in some of like the funniness that people put into it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm into trying it out.
I am too.
There was one Discovery Plus show. I can't remember what it is. It's like an online, like a horror anthology already, and it's like reenactments of like basically creepypastas. And it's one of the worst things I've ever watched in my life. It was super, just like the production level. I mean, it was obviously not good because it's like a Discovery Plus like reenactment show. But it was like shit where they're like trying to be like, these are like real horror stories from the internet that really happened. And the first one was like a woman is working at a hospital and then a zombie plague breaks out. And it's like you're trying to pass off like this is like a reenactment of something that happened.
I'm like, is it bad that I kind of want to see how bad it is?
It's fun. I enjoyed it. But it was definitely like a hate watch kind of thing. Like,
oh my god, yeah. Some. I don't know necessarily like faith in like Netflix doing it, but like whatever. Yeah. Hopefully, like whoever they have, like that one anthology series thing that we watched.
Was that the Guillermo del Toro Cabins of Curiosity thing?
Like different directors, everyone doing their own business kind of thing. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be a cool way to do it if you actually kind of have different tones and stuff.
Because then you could have like a comedy episode one when you're like, hell yeah. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I mean, I'm worried that it'll just feel kind of like a little soulless, like we're just trying to make it like this scary, very serious thing when it's not entirely, and also but we'll see. We'll be the
we're the resident expert of SCP and comedy over here. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Speaking of SCP and comedy, JD, are you ready to get into it?
We live in the same folders, and I saw the title of this, and I was like, you know what? I trust Ben.
Yeah. All right.
You said that like you shouldn't. Like I shouldn't trust you.
Well, no, you should trust me. You should trust me. We've known each other for 9 years. It's been a while. Time. We'll see how you feel. There is like, we can do that. There's a thing in here that I feel like might be the cruelest thing I've ever done to you, but I also feel like it's going to be funny. So,
see our Instagram messages. I don't know. Well, okay, we'll see if you're saying that.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay. JD tends to threaten me, so maybe we'll turn around. File number SCP-4844. Object class Keter. Special containment procedures. No effective means of containing SCP-4844 are currently known. Research and examination are being conducted to find methods by which SCP-4844 may be contained or terminated. Both SCP-4844's home in Los Angeles and its ziggurat beneath the Caspian Sea are to be surveilled to monitor SCP-4844's activity. He goes by many names. The Tool Man, the Last Man Standing, the Santa Claus. It's Tim Allen, baby. We're back. We are back. We're back. Here he is.
Oh my God.
SCP-4844 is Tim Allen. Described in the file as possessing reality-bending capabilities more potent than those of any other entity in the Northern Hemisphere. These powers of earth-shattering proportions include, quote, flight, spontaneous materialization and dematerialization, fine manipulation of objects and substances, and stand-up comedy. We're going to flag the last one because we'll be going on that a little bit later. Where do these powers come from? Was Tim Allen born with these? Is he a secret lizard person and an alien from another planet? Well, unfortunately, we don't know for sure, right? But the Foundation has some theories, and they believe that these powers developed as a result of Tim Allen utilizing forbidden acting techniques during the filming of the 2006 film, The Shaggy Dog. It all ties together. There's no loose threads to pull. According to this file, it was after the poor reception of this film that SCP-4844 began to pursue side projects, while he maintained the facade of being a mid-actor. Many of these side projects are unknown, but the Foundation has identified a ziggurat constructed of obsidian, which is not a great construction material, located at the bottom of the Caspian Sea, a temple to SCP-4844. The ziggurat holds, quote, countless artifacts created by SCP-4844 as a form of recreation, artistic expression, or wish fulfillment. These include a life-size marble sculpture depicting every character SCP-4844 has ever portrayed on film. The figures are engaged in unarmed combat with each other. The base of the sculpture is a pile of ostensibly dead replicas of SCP-4844. 45 wooden and bone figurines made to resemble famous actors that SCP-4844 has worked with. They are depicted in various states of severe injury. An immense mural depicting a victorious SCP-4844 standing atop an overturned M1 Abrams tank. The tank is surrounded by crying women. A scale model of the United States of America. Florida is absent. Much of the Midwest is covered by an engraving of Tim, quote, the Tool Man Taylor. He is smiling and wielding a claw hammer. And a 21-meter-tall statue of Russian-American writer Ayn Rand. She is smiling and also wielding a claw hammer. This is all that we know about SCP-4844's current projects, but we also have found a hint of prophecy. Archaeologists working in the ruins of the Sumerian site of Ur found a tablet which, despite being over 3,000 years old, quote, depicts SCP-4844 dressed as Tim, the Tool Man, Taylor, and flanked by Buzz Lightyear and Santa Claus. SCP-4844 is shown to be locked in mortal combat with American stand-up comedian Jerry Seinfeld atop an unknown volcano. Jerry Seinfeld is not known to possess anomalous abilities to the extent implied by this tablet. So that's the end of the SCP, but then the SCP continues with two kind of sub stories about preparing Jerry Seinfeld, who is a black magic wizard, and then the final battle for humanity between Seinfeld and Allen. And it reads like an anime fight sequence, and it was delightful. It was a great read. I don't want to spoil it because I recommend, if you're into this kind of stupid shit, just go read it. It's fun. But for the grounded reality portion, let's get back into a brief biography of Tim Allen, the human. You ready for this?
Oh, Ben.
Timothy Allen Dick, get it out now, was born in Denver, Colorado in 1953. His father was a real estate agent, and his mother worked in, quote, community service. I'm not sure what that means. He has 4 brothers and 1 sister. Tim Allen has said he started drinking at the age of 10 and that he was inspired to do so by cowboy movies. When Tim was 11, his father was killed in a traffic accident while driving home from a football game by a drunk driver. 2 years later, his mother remarried and moved to Michigan. Tim Allen has described this as a pivotal moment in his early life as he transitioned from being a very popular kid in Colorado to feeling like an outsider in Michigan. He said that he was able to adapt and use humor as a way to, quote, play the game. Tim Allen graduated high school and went to college in Western Michigan. He also continued drinking heavily throughout high school and college. Let's focus in on 1975 because this is a slightly hazy area for Tim Allen in his 20s, but it's the start of a couple of interests, comedy and cocaine. Reports vary on which came first, but let's focus on the cocaine first. The cleanest, most PR-friendly version is that Tim Allen started selling coke to support his way through school and eventually to support his start in comedy. But according to Tim Allen, this is not true. When he started dealing coke, he had already graduated college, and he had no real interest in comedy at the time. Tim Allen has said that he didn't realize how deep he was getting into dealing, but that he did start getting greedy and getting high on his own supply. So, breaking the rules of Scarface and the 10 crack commandments, there had to be a fall coming somewhere. And according to Tim Allen on the WTF podcast with Mark Maron, there were a bunch of people involved in a drug ring, and he was one of about 20 who wound up getting snitched on by an informant. So that's his account of things, but there are other accounts that are slightly different. And it seems like the reality is that Tim Allen was arrested as the result of a police setup. So the day of the arrest, Tim Allen placed a bag with over 650 grams of cocaine, which is like a pound and a half, in a locker, and then he handed the keys to an undercover cop who had been working to get Tim Allen caught, apparently for months. So it's a fairly long involved process. Tim Allen was arrested for drug trafficking at the Kalamazoo/Battle Creek International Airport in Michigan on October 2nd, 1978. The state had apparently recently passed a law that anything over 650 grams was punishable by life in prison. So I couldn't find like the exact amount of weight that he was moving, but at this point it was more than 650 grams. So he was looking at life in prison. And he pleaded guilty and turned informant. So this made it a federal case, so the state's potential life sentencing no longer applied, and then Tim Allen was the one who informed on 20 associates. And this, quote, led to the conviction and sentencing of 4 major drug dealers. So, for his part, Allen was looking at a maximum of 7 years in the federal case, but he got out on good behavior after 2 years, 4 months in a federal prison. And it was in this kind of interstitial period before Allen was actually sent to prison that he tried comedy as a dare from a friend. Ooh. Allen said that it was this period while he prepared to enter prison that he kind of reevaluated his life and his priorities, and he was like, I want to get into stand-up. I think that's what I want to do when I get out. I've seen a few people say that prison is where he learned to be funny, and that he survived on the strength of his comedy, winning over other prisoners, refining the craft, that kind of, it's a fun narrative. But according to Tim Allen, he basically kind of learned to be quiet and out of the way. And he said that his sarcasm kind of got him into more trouble than it prevented. So after getting out of prison, Allen moved to Detroit and began to pursue stand-up. Throughout the 80s, he became kind of a road comic, and gradually he made his way to LA, became a fixture of the Comedy Store with the aspiration of getting on the Tonight Show, right? Classic 80s comedy path. It was at the Comedy Store that Tim Allen developed his tool man persona, performing wearing a tool belt. And Allen also developed his trademark grunt during this era. According to him, it started while he was performing a corporate gig during lunch, and he noticed that none of the guys were listening to him. So he started grunting to kind of mimic the men like eating their lunch. And then this started getting their attention and getting some laughs. And this became like his hook, right? This is like how he built his first set that got him his first special. And his first special, it's called Men Are Pigs, and it came out in 1990, and it was a huge hit. It was a Showtime special. It got him Home Improvement, which basically adapted his act into a G-rated character. And it also finally got him on The Tonight Show for the first time, which apparently he bombed because they didn't have him on as a comedian. They had him on as like a sitcom star. But he was like, I want to perform my stand-up. I want to show you guys like, I've got it, you know? And apparently they didn't really like prep him on it. So he just kind of like ate shit, apparently the first time he was on the Tonight Show. But then they like had him back on and he performed stand-up again.
Okay.
So I think I need to kind of drive home how big Tim Allen was, right? Home Improvement was getting 23 million weekly views. Those are big ratings, right? In 1994, there was a week where Tim Allen had the top rated TV show, Home Improvement, the #1 book on the New York Times bestseller list with his autobiography, Don't Stand So Close to a Naked Man, and the biggest movie in the box office with the Santa Claus.
Whoa.
And no one else has accomplished this, and no one else had accomplished this before then. He's the only one, Tim Allen, potentially the most successful comedy goat, which is crazy. A year later, he was in Toy Story as the voice of Buzz Lightyear, which obviously another major success. We've got 4 Toy Story movies. There's the Buzz Lightyear spin-off film, even though Tim Allen did not play Buzz Lightyear in the spin-off. Home Improvement ran for 8 seasons and finally ended in 1999. And it ended more or less because Allen said that he felt like the show had run its course. He was offered $50 million to do another season, and he declined. Throughout the 2000s, Tim Allen was mainly acting in films, the Santa Claus sequels, the Shaggy Dog and Wild Hogs, that kind of stuff. He also, in 1999, had a DUI and had to go into recovery, like a rehab clinic as part of that. And he's been sober for 23 years since then. So good for him. Then 2011 saw the glorious return to television for Tim with the show Last Man Standing. The show ran for 6 seasons on ABC and was ABC's second best performing sitcom, but it was canceled in 2017. Do you know why?
Did he say something?
Yeah. Tim Allen said on Jimmy Kimmel Live that being a Republican in Hollywood was, quote, like 1930s Germany. You got to be real careful around here. You know, you'll get beat up if you don't believe what everybody believes. So that's our Timmy.
He definitely said something.
He said something. Yep. A tragic victim of cancer.
No.
But a hero emerged with Fox, who rushed in to pick up Last Man Standing, which went on to run for another 3 seasons on Fox. Thank you.
Thanks, Fox, I guess.
They saved the show with a 14% critic review on Rotten Tomatoes. Here's some of the critical reviews. Quote, it's a stale sitcom right out of the 1990s. Quote, very probably the worst sitcom on network television. And, quote, Last Man Standing seems to think that its jokes and premise and crappy worldview are, like its hero, endangered somehow. What it doesn't seem to realize is that there's a reason shows like this have gone extinct. So, pretty brutal reviews from the critics. But those out-of-touch coastal elites just don't get it, because the audience rating is 76%. And here's some reviews. It's pretty high. Some reviews are like, quote, I think this is the greatest show ever on TV. Finally, someone who is unapologetic about their beliefs, which are in line with the greatest majority of Americans, brave enough and proud enough to speak the truth, even though the left tries to take away the freedom of speech for everyone that does not agree with them. And, of course, the liberals on this site hate it. It's wholesome family values. And best current show, especially, you got to strap in for this one, especially if you're a Republican, very little to no blacks. Or pushing gay stuff on us, the way life should be. I wish there were more shows like this.
Do you ever sometimes think about like how like when someone says like unapologetic beliefs, it only applies to like the right?
That seems to be a consistent thing, right? Yeah, where you're like, it's like, yeah, when people are like, oh my god, like I can't say anything, and it's like, what do you want to say? I'm listening.
You can say anything to me.
You can say anything.
Be unapologetic about your beliefs.
Yeah, please be unapologetic. Show your ass if you want. But the last one really is saying the quiet part out loud. Where you're like, yeah, we know what you mean. We know what you're.
Do you think any of these people watched the show, or they were just like, let me rate it based on like
That was the thing. So I checked on these profiles from like these 5-star reviews, and none of them had any other information or reviews, right? So I was like, okay, so either you loved the show so much that you made a user account on Rotten Tomatoes 2 years after the show stopped airing, because all those came out, all those reviews were 2023, just to defend it.
Okay.
So maybe they're just very passionate fans, or these are just people using burner accounts to keep the ratings high. Either way, potentially, right? But step off the Last Man Standing tangent. I didn't watch the show. I was like, should I watch it? And I was like, I can't.
Then you've done too much already.
Yeah. So back to 2021, we're closing out Tim Allen's bio. Tim Allen was the executive producer and host of a show called Assembly Required, which was a one-season History Channel competition show where people built different things. And then 2022 also saw the release of the Disney Plus show, The Santa Clauses, which somehow has secured a second season. So he's still working. He's still doing just fine. He's 70 now.
Oh,
so
I don't know he was that old.
Yeah, 1953 to right now, he's like 70 years old. So, at the end of the day, good for him. He's still out there doing
the
work.
Disappointment in your face, you're like, good for him, this bastard.
No, I mean, I couldn't. I aside from his like conservative beliefs, I did think I've heard like by all accounts he's a very like caring father, and he does like try to be like a nice person. He's very involved in like charities that help like unhoused people, and then he's I kind of wanted to see like what he's like now, and of course he's a big like used car collector, like all out of touch older comedians.
Is that Jay Leno?
Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld are both big on that. So I have for you. I just want to show you a little bit of kind of like the raw wit that you're getting from like a Jay Leno, Tim Allen interaction.
Okay.
It never quite caught on in America. And we'll find out why. Kind of like my next guest, never quite caught on in America. Please welcome Tim Allen. Tim, come on.
It was great. Never caught on in Europe. That would have been more, the joke would have been funnier. Because I didn't think it was funny at all, that whole thing about me not catching on in the U.S.
No, I didn't mean...
That wouldn't be a joke then, Tim. That would just be an observation.
I'll just be behind the camera filming that whole thing and be like, are they gonna start swinging?
What's going on here? Like, what is this energy? And then I pulled another clip too because I was just like, I'm sorry, but I can't not.
Right. Yeah. But,
and again, it's a Lotus motor, and it
Lotus or Cosworth? Cosworth, yeah.
Isn't that Lotus? I thought it was again. Now we're gonna both of us.
Well, pick it up again. Just say Cosworth motor.
No.
It's a Cosworth.
I'm not saying it. You say it.
Well, it's a Cosworth motor, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's not even my car.
Whose car is it?
I don't know. It just showed up here.
Oh, okay.
They told me I get some free coffee and a donut if I stop by and pretend that this is mine. Yes, it's my car. I said,
Ben, do we talk like this?
I don't think that we did. It felt like talking to like a grandparent.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you're in like that same energy.
Yeah, like this reminded me of like relatives who like will tell you what's happening to you. Like they're like, I don't know. It's like I have a relative who will call and then will tell you what the weather is where you're at.
Yeah, there's that energy of like, well, I know what's going on here. Like maybe you don't get it. Like it's a lot of confidence between these two men.
Like winning over each other. But not trying to be in a competition because I won't be in a competition because I don't need to win because I'm already winning.
Right. Yeah. And I think they have like the long-term, like older, like they're both like successful comedians. They're both kind of like, I'm the funny guy here, but I'm actually like, they're like the little back and forth, but the energy of the back and forth just feels so like
bad. Like negative.
Like the Riz is not there.
Anti-Riz, actually.
Like I feel like you guys are just kind of fighting, like the joke not landing and trying to play that off like that was like funny, and then the joke of like that's not my car. Of course, it's my car. Like
that could have been funny, right? But like, oh, anybody, you would be like, oh, it's not actually my car, but it came off so like, it's not my fucking car, you stupid motherfucker. Yeah,
and Jay Leno kind of was like, oh, it's not your car, like. Like I've been in that same, I've gotten told like that same joke, and I'll be like, oh, okay, and then it's like, well, why would you tell me that it wasn't? Like, what? Where's the joke here? It's
just so bad, it's terrifying.
Yeah, so top of their game. But here's the major question with this SCP, right? Is like, why Tim Allen? Spoilers ahead for the story that accompanies the SCP file. If you haven't read it, go read it. If not, we're going through it. It's a fun little SCP. The SCP explains that the motivation for the battle between Jerry Seinfeld and Tim Allen is basically the struggle for relevancy. SCP Tim Allen is struggling to maintain cultural relevance in a world that has moved past him. But in SCP Tim Allen's view, he is a timeless figure. In the SCP, Seinfeld is definitely different from the Seinfeld of our universe because he tells Tim Allen, quote, "We're not timeless. Things aren't what they were in the 90s. modern audiences just don't want to hear old white men complain about women and political correctness. Of course, in our reality, Seinfeld said in 2015 that he stopped performing at college campuses because they were too politically correct. The choice of Seinfeld was interesting because, yes, they were both comedians at the top of their game in the 1990s, and they are both very much selling the act, right? Both of their shows were based on their stand-up. With that in mind, what was actually going on with Tim Allen's stand-up? Have you seen Tim Allen stand-up?
I'll be so serious with you. I've never seen any Tim Allen stand-up. I thought he was just like a comedian who is in movies.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. For some reason, Tim Allen brings out the masochist in me. Maybe it's being faced with such a raw source of masculinity.
Shaggy Dog changed you. I think something happened when you read the entire Shaggy Dog, like original source material. A spell was cast on you. Yeah,
I feel like it's just like there's something compelling to me about Tim Allen now, where I'm like, I need to get to the bottom of this. Tim.
This is your Adam Sandler clique.
Exactly. Yes. I was like, I think here's my connection. He's the liver king of comedy, right? He's just like the macho dude comedian. So with that masochism in mind, JD, I'm gonna play you some clips from his 1990 special, and I hope that you are ready.
I wasn't even alive to suffer through this, and now you're bringing it back.
I wasn't either, and I made this myself. With
wow.
So.
Thanks.
Kid. I brought my baby, a 6-month-old little bitch from hell. Daddy's girl, though. Woke up this morning, looked at me, and went, ooh, 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 ooh. The worst thing about having a little girl is all the women folks show up. Oh, the house, I got 8 hens show up after the birth.
Let me know if you want me to pause. Just give me like a hand sign or something.
Like, oh, I want to savor this moment.
No, please, yeah.
Grandma shows up, that bitch, I hate her. Next thing I hear her saying is, I'm falling and I can't get up because I knocked her down. Men are pigs, right, women? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just too bad we own everything. I'm kidding. You grunt like the little pigs you are. That's how she figured we should talk. Now I go to Sears on my terms. I go past all that Lady Kenmore jazz. I go to the man area, craftsman.
They love it so much.
I mean, you can organize your tool area, but can't keep brown stains out of your underwear. You know? And who gave them permission to change every plug you got now? Every new appliance, toaster, whatever, you got that new plug. One side's just a little bit bigger, the other side. I got the first use out of that new grinder. See, women don't get into tools. They don't understand. They don't understand this stuff.
They don't get it.
Honey, why don't you try that grill out first? Okay, I'll be behind the garage. Even back there, I can see a flame jump out of that thing. Stop running around, honey. You're just making the flames grow on your head there. Women are naturally upset with men, and I know the reason why now, because men are lying shits. And the reason men lie is because they're sick of women bitching at them. But the reason women bitch is because we lie so much. Oh, I'm Wyatt goddamn Earp walking around. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Come on, bitch, break something. And how do you screw up dishes? Dishes are traditionally women do that. So now I'm into that role. I'm gonna do that, wash that dish. I'm gonna do that dish. How do you screw it up? Well, you're a man, you'll figure out a way. Oh, I can feel her presence, huh? Like a Comanche warrior, she comes out of nowhere. What the hell are you doing? Ah! Just wash the dish in here. Well, you can't use that sponge. It's just for Teflon. Whoa! Alert the press. And that one's just for stainless steel. Ah! I'll just use my orbital sander. Take that faggy little pattern off when I'm at. Send me out to buy something women ordinarily buy. New dishwasher. I have to do a dishwasher. You need a new dishwasher. I go to look. They don't make a Black & Decker Craftsman. They don't make one. What am I going to buy? I'm looking for a GMC diesel dishwasher. They don't make. That'd be great though. A 30-horse diesel engine. Big stack coming through the counter. They don't make them for men. They got the Maytag 2000. Number one, according to Consumer Reports, number one.
Would you be surprised to hear that the wife he was with then divorced him?
No. How? Okay. I wrote something.
Here, please.
How can one man make so many sounds like that? And how did you? You watched this whole thing?
I mean, to make this, I watched it probably like 3 times.
And also, this is a general observation: is like men are both a little afraid of women, and they're nagging, and they're like sort of like, what are you doing? But also hate them so much. There's
a lot of like resentment in there, right? Where you're like, the jokes are like, my grandmother's here, fuck her, bitch ass wife and my little daughter, fuck them. Right? Yeah, there was like pretty much every joke. I didn't include some of them, but there was like the same joke repeated multiple times of like, you want me to do a woman thing? I'm going to do it like a man. And just like, you're going to regret asking me. Like, it's fucking horrible. Like, that energy is it's very angry, I think.
I also, obviously you can make jokes about so many things, but like so many tool related jokes. Obviously it's the brand of the special, but did not know you could make that many jokes. A tool-based economy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all tools. There was like laundry, there was mowing the lawn, like all of these things that are like appliance everything is very tool related. That's how he built his whole 25 minutes. This kind of joke of you think basically the joke is like, you think men are dumb, but like I'm still stronger than you was kind of like the joke, I think, which is fucking wild. Also wild to me was this is like what launched his career, right? Like 1990, Disney saw this and they were like, oh my God, give this man a fucking sitcom.
I love that he could be for Buzz Lightyear. Yeah. Like, I know where, who could be a great Santa Claus? This fucking guy who fucking hates his goddamn wife.
He hates his wife. He's like, I listened to like a podcast where like they were talking about like 2 like older comedians and like, oh my God, like Tim Allen, he was just like giving them the business, that's like why he was funny. It was like women, like who traditionally have had so much power in our culture.
You gotta punch.
The punching up, punching down question. For sure. Yeah,
God, Ben, I don't know how you did. A spell. I don't know if a spell was cast on you, a curse was cast on you. Something happened when you opened the page of a PDF or a book, and you're gone. I don't know if I can ever get the Ben back.
A little bit of me died when I read like the Shaggy Dog. Murdered the dog boy in the book. But so I listened to like that interview with the What the Fuck interview with Mark Maron, and Tim Allen described himself as masculinist. I'd never heard this term before, so I looked into it, and there's a couple potential meanings. It could be used as an adjective to describe someone who is characterized or denoting attitudes or values held to be typical of men, right? But then it could also be used as a noun to describe someone who is like advocates of the rights or needs of men, right? And the second one is a little bit more of kind of like a social movement that's basically like the men's rights thing, like the idea that like feminism is taking away from men by elevating women is kind of where the masculinist thing ties in. And I think given the context and the whole stage persona, I'm willing to give that Tim Allen. I think it's just like a guy's guy. Like, I'm a man. I'm attracted to like an idealized form of masculinity rather than maybe being a men's rights activist. I don't think that's what he was saying in the interview. I think his whole vibe is like, I'm a cowboy. I'm a badass. I'm a man. But that could be a little splitting hairs, right? In terms of him being a masculinist, he said that he kind of became like really into like manly stuff because he was surrounded by strong women growing up, right? His dad died when he was 11. And in his words, quote, I was surrounded by women that were so much women that they were men. When women are strong, they have a different kind of strength than I'm used to in men. And it's intimidating. And it's also emasculating because they come off as smarter. And maybe they are. But I became very male oriented. So Tim Allen related this to kind of a feeling of anger that he still carries around and he's carried around his whole life. This has been the entire basis of Tim Allen's comedy career. He described this as being like a through line, right? And that his character on Last Man Standing is the same persona, but with some added edge, basically. So I think that Tim Allen's comedy exists in an interesting space, and he sums it up well, right? He's like intimidated and emasculated by strong women, but he turns it into like machismo and masculinity as a defense. Mm-hmm. And to his slight credit, he does kind of make it like the man's man style of masculinity is the butt of the joke with the whole grunting thing. But there's also like that line that he still references today, that men are pigs, aren't they, ladies? Right. That joke. He still references that in interviews today. Too bad we own everything. Right. There's like that kind of like rubbing it in the lady's face attitude. Right. So I can't say that his comedy is subversive. I think Tim Allen very much arose from and reinforces the values of the culture at the time and just still American culture today. I think it's pretty telling that this special is what created his career, and in particular that this combination of dumb confidence and misogyny was enough to launch 8 seasons of a beloved family sitcom and 10 years of a kind of reviled one. Because it's kind of like weaponizing confidence, right? Like, and by weaponizing confidence, I mean the observed phenomena primarily from women in like cis hetero relationships of their male partners, hiding their reluctance or resentment of being asked to do a task by half-assing it or just making it more of a pain in the ass than it would have been if they just did it themselves. And that's kind of like Tim Allen's whole thing is like, you know, if you ask me to do the laundry, I'm going to burn the house to the fucking ground, right? And this energy is very much still here in American culture. Recently on TikTok, there's been a trend of the partners of blue collar men where they post videos to potential, quote, blue collar man stealers. I have
seen like, I've never seen the video, but I've seen like the screenshots of like, if you want him, he blah, 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 something like that.
Yeah, I have some quotes here because they're pretty fucking wild. Quote, to all the blue collar man stealers, he doesn't clip his own toenails, has to have a blow dryer in the mornings while he sits on the toilet for an hour, will pee on you in the shower, and works 100+ hours in a pay period. Quote, to all the blue-collar man stealers, just know mine gets free haircuts every 2 weeks, needs his toenails trimmed every month or so, sets 15 of the most obnoxious alarms that start going off at 3:30 a.m., cannot be bothered to change the toilet paper roll, pees on me in the shower, farts 24/7, sends me up to the store for another 30 rack on a frequent basis, and would probably smack you in the forehead for trying. Plus, I'd probably have to schedule it and remind him what time he's got to be there. And the last one. Quote, to all the blue-collar man stealers, take him, but he'll wake you up at 4 a.m., spend more money on gas station food than rent, forget your birthday, use hand towels as toilet paper, scream, cry if you have a daughter, and he will not wash his ass. And he pees on everyone. I think JD has left the chat. And for sure. Yeah. So I wanted to flag one thing, which is I noticed the line, it has to have a blow dryer in the mornings while he sits on the toilet for an hour.
That's what you noticed?
Are we talking blow dryer? Actually, I'm concerned.
Is it like the air fan or something?
My head went to like blow job. And I was like, is that what's happening? Because I was like, a blow dryer in the mornings every day? Telling me that, because I don't think of the energy there of like a guy who pisses on someone in the shower and doesn't clip his own toenails does not say to me, I need to blow dry my hair for texture.
What if it's like for warmth? Like, what if you're pooping and you want to be warm instead of like...
He wants like a warm head.
No, like he's warming the seat.
Oh, that's a hopeful one. That's a
like a nicer one. But that's what you noticed, because what I noticed was pees on you in the shower as like a sort of...
That was a through line. There was a lot of those where they were like, and he pees on you in the shower. So not to be a wife guy, but I am a married man. And I checked in with my wife. If it would be considered disrespectful if I peed on her in the shower. And her exact words were, LOL, yeah. Which I agree with. I think it would be.
I love her so much. You don't even know. Yeah. It's just like, I thought you were gonna be like, oh, weaponized incompetence. Oh yeah, the grocery list. I have to list every single thing because he doesn't pay attention to what's in the house. I tell him to do the laundry and he fucks it up, so I have to ask him again. Turns out this one we're gonna talk about is, he pisses on me in the shower.
Yeah, right. Like, and I think that now the trend is coming more like people like making fun of people in the trend, but I think that the trend does have sincere roots. Like I think the ones that I pulled from, and a lot of them are like women being genuinely like, you wish. Like there's like that attitude of like, stand by your man, you can't handle my man kind of attitude that comes through a lot, right? And I think that Tim Allen, if he never existed and just appeared today, I think he would crush in the blue collar America. Because it's like weaponized incompetence and resentment masked as humor. It's like, oh, you want me to help with the kids? How about I shit on your fucking towels while you get me a beer? Like, that's like that energy there.
Oh my God. And this is like the guy who's like, I'm not taking care of my kids. I'm babysitting my kids. Like, they're not your own fucking child.
They're your children, bro. Like, yeah. I mean, whether it's Tim Allen joking about not being able to wash dishes or it's a husband wiping his ass with decorative towels, I think that there's a degree to which the appearance of incompetence is used to mask real resentment and aggression. I'm sure that many of the men who are pissing on their partner in the shower are doing it as a joke, right? But is it a joke? I don't think it would qualify as one. I don't think it's even on the level of one of Tim Allen's single joke format jokes, right? It's purely based in cruelty. You don't really piss on somebody because you respect them and their contributions to the household outside of certain contexts, if that's something that they're into and they ask for it. Tim Allen did not invent the idea that men can't do domestic work, right? I'm not saying that he's like responsible for this. I think he's a representative of like something in our culture that has always been there, that is still there. The conception that men are dumb is just another tool to justify and excuse bad behavior. As men, speaking to as a man, we need to do better. Of course, there are ways that men are suffering under capitalism and patriarchy, but there are privileges as well. And there is no excuse to continue to push that resentment and pain that you feel towards people that are more marginalized than you. I think that this is the horror of the story, that SCP Tim Allen was right, that he is timeless, that the shitty joke premises from over 30 years ago are still played out in homes across the country, potentially across the world. But the truth is, fellas, we need to start washing our asses.
Please. That was insane. First question is, how would Netflix adapt this?
That's a good question, right? Like it would be a big budget one because you would need Tim Allen and Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, and then you would you would need like the rights to like appearances of the many characters that he has played, as well as all of the people who he crushes because he's worked with. Netflix, get on this. And then also, for some reason, I think when you mentioned Florida being gone and like a huge chunk of the Midwest having like, I wrote down benevolent Paul Bunyan.
Is Paul Bunyan malevolent?
I don't know. Oh wait, maybe I meant malevolent.
Paul Bunyan's
Paul Bunyan's out there cutting people down. You know, with his is it, a bull or something like that?
He's got
ox. There you go. Right? He's like knocking shit down. Oh my God. And I think this is, once again, we are big brain, single brain cell, because I do have some misogyny. I don't have misogyny in my text they do of this thing. I was like, I have a surprise reveal, JD misogyny era. But no. I'm like, actually, I was, it's so hard being considered. But yeah, oh my God. I like, we take the sort of like, I mean, I'm not saying we take Tim Allen for granted, but like you take his like fame for granted. Cause like, I just kind of like, I didn't come out the womb knowing who Tim Allen was, but like, you just know that Tim Allen is famous like at some point, but I didn't know it was like big in terms of like 23 some million like viewer kind of thing. And then like long time, like so many things, like, cause you just kind of like, oh, Tim Allen, Nick at Night, and then like Buzz Lightyear, and then like the Santa Claus movie and all of that stuff, and you're like, well, I mean, he has to have some fame for that, but like it's like you don't think of how famous
he was. Huge. Like that's the thing, is I was just like, wow, this guy was like a bona fide comedy superstar on a level that we have not seen before or since, really, in terms of just like raw broad appeal success.
Yeah, and it's a lot. And to like, I guess like to speak to like the whole like you get famous off of this like one single idea or like this like sort of special, and that's what everyone like expects of you, and then you got to keep going on that train to be like remain relevant, because then now you're like fighting the whole like everyone's the most part changing, and then like you have to battle that to stay relevant. That is because I was like, so what is this about? This is just like a funny little like two comedians battling against each other kind of thing. And then like for it to then be like the sort of like struggle for relevance. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think that was a compelling part of the story that was included in it. I mean, the choice of Jerry Seinfeld was especially interesting to me because Jerry Seinfeld has been like kind of like outspoken as well.
They can be besties.
Like, not feeling. Yeah, they like I feel like, and also they collect closet cars. They have a lot. Like they're both like very successful, kind of out of touch comedians. Yeah.
And then I will touch on this when I get to it, but it's just like the sort of like, fellas, is it gay to love a woman kind of thing?
Right,
like throw a line of like, I hate women so much. I love being a man. I'm a man's man. Fellas, is it gay to like wipe your ass kind of thing? That like kind of runs through like some of this of like, I love that you love being a man and the masculinity of it, but I think you turn it so much into like loving being a man that you start to hate women in like a way that not equal to like not too on par. Like if you're a woman and you're like, I fucking hate men, fuck you. You're kind of like, I get that, but then like I love men so much. It's there's this one thing from like Secret Sleepover Society. It's like it's like a jokey thing that he said. He was like, it's not that I hate women, I just love men. You know, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, it was definitely like the lines of kind of the I feel like overall it is like wrestling, like Tim Allen's stand-up feels like he was kind of wrestling with like the realities of like, I know that women are like competent, I know that like I think women are like people and they're like smart and strong in their own way, but it's like there was like a resentment there in some way. It seemed kind of there's like that anger there of like, but like they make me feel like I'm dumb, I think was part of it too. Like that thing he said in the Mark Maron interview where he was like, but I feel like they seem like they're smarter, and maybe they are. And it's like, no, Sam, like it's okay. Like people are just different. Like it's fine. Like women, like people have their own things going on. And I'm sorry that you felt like you were belittled by the presence of strong women, but that doesn't mean you have to like rage against all women and like build yourself like the fortress of manliness where you're like, but I'm like a man. Like he's just so much about like the cowboy thing, the car thing, guns. He's like very much like he's all the kind of macho shit that he really gets into.
Yeah, and that's like sort of weird of like
tools,
tools, you know, like a little saw or whatever. I am a tool individual because I like cutting things up and moving them. But it's just like, I don't know, it's like to see like the strength of women, and then instead of taking that as like oh cool, I feel lacking in this area, let me empower myself to also feel that similar sort of strength, instead of feeling like that means I'm dumb. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, right. And I think there's like the 90s, 80s, 90s kind of like gender essentialism was very strong, and especially like that kind of like men are from Mars, women are from Venus energy of like we're just two different groups of people, because there was like the idea, I think kind of similar to like a lot of things in the US where like, oh, that's problems issues, those issues are done. Okay, yeah, women are at least equal, and like because of feminism they actually think they're even better than men, right? Like that, I think there was kind of that energy there. Where it's obviously that was never the case. That was just like a myth that people told themselves of like, well, yeah, we're in this place where it's like we're all equal, so get in the back in the kitchen, ladies, because we've acknowledged that you have the same rights. Like
it's like if men and women are equal, can I punch a woman?
Yeah, it's like it's that kind of shit, really, where you're like,
you should punch anyone without sort of. God damn it.
Yeah, it's really just like the amount of disrespect. Like I feel like the pissing on people thing and like the blue collar thing was really fucking like mind blowing to me, of just like what, like if you talk to one of these guys and you were like, why do you think it's okay to piss on your wife, your partner, your girlfriend? Would you piss on like your best friend? Would you piss on like the dudes at the job site? Where's the line where it's okay to piss on
and then
somebody?
If you ask that, like if you did say like, yes, I would piss on my best friend, like what's the reason? Like
right. Yeah, the question, because it's like I don't know the motivations for pissing on somebody. Maybe it's just kind of like I have to piss in the shower, like a pragmatist kind of argument that it's just like, well, I have to pee, I'm in the shower. But it's like you're pissing on their leg.
Else,
like
dog.
if you were pissing in the shower, there's plenty of real estate where you can piss not on the other person in the shower.
Literally pissing alone, handsome, but in the worst way.
Exactly.
In the worst way, dog. Maybe you should piss alone, handsome.
Yeah, I think piss alone, or just don't piss on your
without their consent and your explicit dialogue of yes, go ahead and do that. Don't do it, dog.
Yeah. So just like that general energy of like, well, I can't be bothered to do this, and I think it does carry like resentment and aggression in a way that we somehow deem more acceptable than straight up being like a verbally or physically abusive piece of shit, right? But like a lot of the blue collar things were like, you hurts my feelings like 100 times a day. It's like that's not cool. Like that's not. You should
have a discussion about these things that won't lead them to be yelling at you and be like, "Whoa, am I the worst person now? You could be with someone worse. He could shit on you."
Right. Yeah, and I'm not saying like one of the ones was like he farts all the time. Fellas, I'm not saying don't fart. I'm just saying like there's degrees of respect. Like I think that having respect for your partner is like the fact that seems like make it just like a heterosexual like issue, because like back in comedy, like back to like the 50s, like the honeymooners, like one of these days, Gladys, pow to the moon. And it's like, yeah, you're gonna hit your wife. That's funny. That's a great joke. And that was like a huge joke. Like throughout the decades and like all of like American comedy, there's always been kind of like that like tension and like kind of various ways of covering it or portraying it. And I think Tim Allen is just one example of how we kind of joke about that, which is still more or less, unfortunately, relevant to how men still feel they can treat the women in their lives.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Some of these I Love My Wife guys have been Mr. John Mulaney and one of the Try guys who essentially have made their I Love My Wife thing. And then turns out I do not necessarily love my wife in that special loving my wife way.
For sure. Yeah. That's a fucking thing. I mean, that's a thing too. Is like there's so many faces of like misogyny and like kind of like being able to like get away with shit. And yeah, it's like the arms race of like, well, I'll just like be really bad at doing it. She won't ask me to do it again.
What does broccoli look like? Actually, can you draw a picture? Like,
right? Yeah, it's like you motherfucker. You're not like
you have eaten at Panda Express and have ordered a broccoli beef before. Yeah. You know what this little tree looks like, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, the acting dumb thing is just like, fucking come on, grow up. Just be
at that point, just say I don't want to do it. Fuck you.
Yeah, just be straight up. Like it's. That's better than being like, I'm just a little dummy. Like, I don't know. You want
spring onions, but they only have green onions. What's the difference? You have Google accessible to you. But open that shit up.
It's on your phone, my guy. Like, quit
my God.
You have YouTube.
Look it up. Jesus Christ. Massage.
Part 2 of the man episode.
Look at the man episode. Oh my God. And if you think you're going to escape this man spirit, get ready to talk with me.
Going deep in this man.
Oh my God. Let's get inside of a man in a way that he never wants in his mind. Oh my God, the variations of the I was like, how many fucking ways can you say that? It's like it's a full sentence at this point.
He said so much with it. He said so much. Like the you can't come for those. I mean, that's artistry.
Good.
That's just pure.
That is good. That is a sound right there. Like sonic goodness.
Yeah. Also, the way that I think that you could see that as you went through the special, he got like a little angrier. Like the jokes got a little meaner. Like the imitations of his wife became more shrill, and like then like the gay voice at the end, where you're like, why is this happening, Tim? Why is they're catching strays now? Like everybody.
Damn, we're in it now. Now why am I in it? My God, like, can you just at least? I'm like, please don't hate your wife, but can you just please focus on that? Like, I'm doing like.
Focus over here, women.
You hate your grandmother. You hate your mother-in-law. You hate your daughter. Stop trying to make me do the Matrix. I'm dodging bullets over here. Like, leave me alone. God dang. Okay. Anyway, so you won't be escaping this feeling. I'm so sorry. Are you ready then? Okay. Okay. So, do I need to change the title of this when you eventually upload it to our website? Because, like, the literal title of this script is "Men." Boo. Okay. So somehow the gods of SCP have gifted me another batshit SCP that has piqued my interest for a week and then proceeded to batter my eyes with the absolute worst shit I've seen in the past month. Fellas, we're gonna have to put on our fedoras and our striped vests and our t-shirts that have the tuxedos imprinted on them, because we are picking up girls by the waist and making a little body horror happen to everyone around us. Today we're talking about, okay, I still don't know how to say their name. I either have to take the Thai respect of P-Soul or Soul. We're talking about P-Soul or Soul's SCP-3512 and trying not to gouge our eyes out at other things I discuss in this, just to absolutely link it together. Okay. Step into my almost 200-year-old cathedral and let's kneel before the one we serve. Our desire to get laid by a very beautiful woman. Side note, I am not like Ben. I am looking for a wife. So please listen to a different episode instead. Don't try the one where I talk about ABO from last week. Try the gay Babadook one. Please try that one. Anyway, so what is SCP-3512? The basic idea of SCP-3512 is that it is a thing that makes women ages 18 to 40 act differently. They begin to exhibit behaviors such as openness, extroversion, and agreeableness. In addition to this is high sociability and lack of inhibition, and screaming fits that could go on for months, lasting maybe like 4 to 5 months kind of thing. But the sort of behavioral changes, the openness, extroversion kind of thing, just kind of stays, right? 3512 is classified as a Euclid, and it is believed to be part of the Fifthist Hub, which is a church, which has SCP-1425 in it, a self-help book associated. That book specifically is something to keep in mind, as it is described as something that has a mild reality warping effect influenced by the subject's desires on anyone who reads the full text. Cool. Okay. So anyone affected by 3512 is locked up in standard cells, so that's how you contain them. They can be contained, unlike Mr. 4844. Much like in our first SCP appearance of the IKEA, this bad boy's got layers, so everybody enjoy an onion today, won't you? It has 3512-1, which is basically your standard body horror, nasty-ass mess, which is described as something that is a central mass composed of carved adipose tissue. This is like body fat, with 12 loosely attached appendages or limbs used for locomotion and other action. It's giving Rat King. It's giving ball of fat in the sewer. Yeah, it's giving fat bird, baby. In Soul's writing, we encounter it in the files as our two lovely SCP agents, Agent Riley Cooper and Thomas Ray, investigated in good old Barcelona, Spain. Our bestie Riley Cooper is flown in from Boston to work with the only guy in Barcelona who can apparently handle this shit and exists to handle it. They go and investigate, speak with family members of the affected, and then even encounter some of the women who have been 3512. Not much is learned from these groups, but they were able to witness the sort of shit that 3512 can do to someone. With a vague-ass clue about the location from one of the family members, Agent Cooper and Agent Ray head for Barcelona's hottest night. Or is it? While hanging out at a club, Agent Cooper gets hit on by some guy that she first thinks is joking, not due to self-consciousness, because she was like, why are you hitting him? But due to some horrid-ass pickup line that he keep that in mind and put a little tab on it. Mr. Pickup is then slightly deterred from further negging by the appearance of another man. Agent Ray comes back to rescue our girl. Agent Cooper and Ray found this a little sus and managed to get the guy's name from the doorman. His name is, I promise that half of these I would start to pronounce with a Filipino accent just to make it better. Joseph Oriol. So that's his name, okay? Due to his sort of like sleaziness, they look into him and they find some absolute shit. Oriol's got plans, architectural plans, and some other maybe worse ones that involve a fucked up sculpture, a bodkin, which is a pointed tool, doll limbs, and syringe. Nice, right? More importantly, they find a book written by some person named Enigma. The book is called The More You Know, a Pickup Artist's Bible. That's right, Strauss fans and magicians. A lad Bible. The game, right? This is our 3512-2, another layer of 3512. This is a book for magicians and pickup artists, I guess, with each chapter being an anagram of the more you know. This book helps you know more. Here are some very cool excerpts from the book that everyone might want to write down for your future escapades with. 1. If you're reading this book, you're probably a bit of a loser. The whole reason you're reading this is to stop being a... Oh yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. to get laid. Like, a lot. 2, the first thing you need to do is stop thinking of hot women as women. In fact, stop thinking about them as people. Think of them as instruments. Before you can play them, you need to know how to. 3, Antoni Gaudi lived like a monk, so you don't have to. Ascetic, unsociable, and celibate. He channeled his energies into architecture of the most profound and powerful nature. 4, wait until right? 4, wait until your intended is likely to be sleeping. Then concentrate your thoughts on her face, particularly the inside of her mouth and throat. Soon, you'll see your new friend scurry off, ready to help you establish social dominance. 5, make a rough ball of the materials you've harvested and place it in the freezer for 6 to 12 hours. Pork fat can be used, but will have less satisfactory results. Who knew, right? And lastly, as below, so below. As below, so below, like a million times. Those are all fun. I hope everyone was writing that down. If you don't, it's in it's in the script over at ISY Pod website. So baby, this baby's got it all. Tips about getting the ladies and late, how to best manifest the woman of your dreams that you met like 2 minutes ago, and also body horror. Totally normal stuff that should be in a book about getting laid, baby. Okay. And magic, right? In this book, we also seem to get a map that indicates a cavern under Filipino accent. Let's go. Basilica de Sagrada Familia. Agents Cooper and Ray investigate this, and it gets crazy. So this is now, just like then, at the point where I tell you to go read the full text because there's a very cool transcript. Got a lot of action as well. Maybe this one's not like anime fight scene, but it's kind of like, you know, if X-Files kind of thing. Like, and if you're not watching the video, I just made a little like movement that's like I'm dodging bullets kind of thing. Okay, but yeah, just to summarize it for you, if you're driving, doing the dishes, or I don't know, having sex, whatever, just because you know. Hello.
Good time. Nice stroke.
Good job. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully, didn't ruin it for you. My bad. Sorry. Yeah. Don't forget your stuff. Agents Cooper and Ray head down a spiral staircase under the Sagrada Familia and end up in what seems to be a river of fat and get attacked by some 3512-1s. And Agent Cooper apparently gets like doubled. I promise you should go read the SCP-3512 full text because it's actually very cool. The whole doubling thing might have to do with Oriole because he has those terrible magician plans. There's body horror, mutilation, and nasty. And you'll never know if you don't go and find out for yourself because I'm moving on to symbolism and shit. What is this melody, y'all? 3512 has a lot of moving parts, very interesting ones. So let's look at some of the cool key aspects of the Sagrada Familia. Started by the homie Francisco de Paula Filipino Spanish.
I mean, this is like kind of taking it back, you know, like they're calling that.
Yeah. So. Francisco de Paula de Villar y Lozano, but more familiar to all and continued and expanded by Antoni Gaudi. The Basilica de la Sagrada Familia is meant to show the story of the Christian faith. For the past 140 years, the construction of this big ass church has been going and is estimated cosmetically at least done by 2032. So 150 years, it should work. We'll see it. My brother, I'll be 40? I don't know.
30 years left of the world.
Yeah, okay, so damn, you spent too long making this before it was done. You need to get it right. Oh, God. Yeah. But anyway, 3512's action is set primarily in the church or under it, maybe making it a symbol of something, Ray. The key fight between Agents Cooper and Ray occurs in the depths of a cavern under the basilica, where there's a river or what may be fat and other human mush. So kind of envision like the Hercules scene where like he's trying to cross the river Styx and there's like people, souls in there. Think of it, but like it's body fat. Yeah.
It's like fat.
Yeah, cool. And they find that little river. They find a printing press. Ooh. And less impressively and pretty terribly, a fresco of the Virgin Mary pregnant and chained to a star-shaped rack by her ankles, wrists, and neck. Cool to have, I guess. Great. Anyway, if we think of the sort of stuff that this conveys, we have a house of worship with rules and laws, and underneath this we have a fresco of the women who gave birth to Jesus Christ, chained up, which is, I guess, nice, and we'll think about this later. We then have 3512, with which the help of my boy Ben, we can sort of establish as a homunculus of some sort, right? Oh my God, I literally was like, Ben, what the fuck is this? What's the word for this? Please help me, right? This is basically a man-made humanoid that is created for many reasons: to perform magical acts, shapeshift, see into the future, summon poison snakes, or just to prove that you can, right? I just did it because I did it. Making a 3512-1 and a homunculus seems to be pretty similar. And no, we're not talking about My Little Pony tulpas. They are the My Little Pony one that I asked you about. It was a tulpa. We're talking about making a guy. Okay.
And what is a tulpa? Is a sidebar?
It's like, oh god, it's like imagining. It's like you have a thing like this stands for this, and then it like happens, right? You're a My Little Pony tulpa.
It's like you manifest it.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Cool.
So we're going to talk about making a guy in a non-traditional way. So if you wanted to do that, get your ears ready. Stop having sex.
Get your own
Stop
guy.
it. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. Maybe. Okay. So let me just give you a very brief way of making one. Please don't tell us if you make one unless it's successful. Then you could be like, thanks so much, JD and Ben, for providing this.
We don't want to request little guys.
Yeah. If we don't make us
any old little guy. Yeah.
Don't make us godparents of your little homunculus person, right? Anyway, as stated in the Livre Vace or Book of the Cow, maybe or maybe not, written by our boy Plato, here's what you need. Write this down, everybody. Magicians, get ready. Here are your ingredients. Magician semen, sunstone, animal blood, cow / ew. How do you say that? EWE. Ew?
Ew.
I
don't know.
Sulfur, magnet, green tutia, and a large glass or a vial of some sort. Now, if you're Nile Red, you might have all of this, but if you don't, good luck. Anyway, when you have all of that, you mix the magician semen and sunstone, and you get real friendly with a cow, and then you get friendlier with its downtown using the sunstone, and then you become best friends with the cow using the blood of another animal.
See the blood.
And then you put your new best friend in a dark house where the sun will never see it again, and then you feed it the blood of some other animal. Unclear if the other animal has to be a cow or you could use chicken blood. I don't know. And then you do some more shit with the sunstone, sulfur magnet, and green tutia, and you stay the hell away from me. The instructions are in the document, but please don't let me tell you. This is also going on YouTube, okay? I'm not trying to get struck down by the YouTube gods. We just recovered from TikTok. And then so now that you know how to make a homunculus, in comparison to making 3512-1, you can sort of play a little guessing game based on what we have from the SCP report, because we don't have the full parts of it, just the little snippets of what I gave you a while ago. But from this guessing game, I'm calling it a homunculus, right? You might have a different opinion, but based on what I see, I think that's what it is, right? 3512-1 is made of carved adipose tissue or body fat, which is found under your skin, between your internal organs, and even in the inner cavities of bones, right? So that's the marrow kind of stuff. And then from my understanding, what you need for making a -1, you need adipose tissue, appendages / limbs, maybe some tools as well for both cutting but also attaching as additional limbs. And you need something from your own body. So if you're a magician, I guess you're set. But when you have all of this, you need a freezer, some more scissors or cutting tools, and the power of thinking and manifesting to the best of your abilities. It seems that you then, once you have all of these, you mold using the adipose tissue and put locomotion focused limbs on it using the appendages and all that stuff. And then you just think real hard, right? The parts that link up with the homunculus making is the use of some sort of fat or base, like human thing. There is a mention of the pork fat, but it says like the results aren't always great. You can glean from that there is maybe a little bit of human sacrifice as well involved that could lead to like feeding 3512 in some way. We can link that to feed the cow or you exclusively on the blood of another animal instructions. Sit on all of that for now, as we'll discuss this and what it might all stand for in the theory section then a little bit later. Then we have 3512-2, which is the Pickup Artist's Bible in this, called The More You Know, a Pickup Artist's Bible, written by Enigma, which can be directly compared in its specific pickup parts as a combined manifestation of the following. Eric von Markovic as Mystery, who you might have seen on VH1's Pickup Artist back when you were a kid, and The Game by Neil Strauss, which was beautifully printed to look like a Bible. Cool, right? The More You Know in 3512 in its entirety. It has 625 pages and somehow involves Snoop Dogg in the foreword. 11 chapters make up the seduction section, showing you how to get that woman, even though you don't think of them as human beings. And then chapters, the next 12 chapters then make up the part that show you how to get to a next level of freakiness for that woman. It involves math, rituals, symbolism, architecture, and some other shit that could get you a doctorate in being a magician, right? Each chapter is titled with an anagram of the more you know, kind of giving the feel that the more you know via this book, the more enlightened you will be about like basically everything, right?
Yeah.
The hard pill is swallow, everybody. The more you know, the more it hurts, actually. Just kidding. Now there's a lot of things in this whole thing that you could have been like, JD, bro, you missed some shit. And I'm sure I did, but my head is hurting because I've thought of women for too long. The widely agreed upon theory about 3512 is that it's a critique of the pickup artist community and its culture. Right. Mm-hmm. If you're not too aware of what a pickup artist is, here's a brief thing about them, right? They're a community focused on one, getting absolutely laid real quickly, as many as possible, right? They work with what they call the science of seduction and other behavioral related sciences. They might do like the NLP kind of stuff, right? And the game that they're playing or taking part of one-sidedly is conquering a bunch of women and reporting on your success and showing other pickup artists how to best replicate it. Like a little fucked up science experiment, right? The in-world pickup artist Bible, The More You Know, seems to be a direct comparison to the study aspects of Neil Strauss's The Game, right? 3512-1, which is like the sort of body mass of fat, can be seen as a stand-in for women that the men in the pickup artist community aim to manipulate, neg into submission, sort of craft into what they think they want, right? The cavern underneath the Sagrada Familia can be seen as the forum in which pickup artists hold their sessions and spread their word before other men. The Virgin Mary in the cavern can stand for the way that some seem to present their artistry as a way to worship women and hold them to this high standard, you know, the virgin woman that you conquer, that you're able to force into submission with chains and other shitty ass methods, right? The homunculus of 3512-1 is composed of ingredients formed to make something that is in the design of its creator. You can decide whether you want it to be a little bit more complicated, put some additional limbs in it, put a little pair of scissors in there, but beware that this might be a little bit harder to manage. Similarly, your relationship with a woman as a pickup artist is simple. You designed a situation, you designed an interaction, you can do as you please, but to complicate it further can take you away from your ultimate goal of betting that woman and reporting it back to your fellow pickup artists. Followers of 3512-2 spend precious time on designing and forming their -1 to take control of the women that they desire, instead of actually taking the time to be with the woman instead and think of her as being something that has independence and thought, right? As noted in The More You Know, the first thing you need to do is to stop thinking of hot women as what they are, things to be molded and formed in the image of whatever you desire. Because fellas, who are you having sex for, if not for the other men to look upon you and bestow their looks of pride at you? Sure, you're in it for that hot woman that you've nugged straight into your bed, but Kevin from your little group, that's who you want your approval from.
So yeah,
because Kevin, his mind is sharp, but his dick is sharper.
He's
right?
A person, the other person thing is a woman.
So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Fair warning, in the next couple of minutes, I will be discussing real-life examples of violations of privacy, pickup artists, and their strategies, and other things. So if you had enough of the misogyny in the first part, you're fucking ready. Right? Through SCP-3512, we get to navigate the experience of women in the dating space through the lens of a piece of horror fiction, right? However, as someone who has spent a good chunk of their life as a woman and still visually looks like one, regardless of my whole deal as a he, they, not binary person, I've gone through a whole good chunk of this without the barrier that's provided by fiction, right? This is something that I got firsthand experience with. I didn't have to navigate through like, ooh, SCP, right? I remember, once again, this is your time to either pause or skip. You're good, right? I remember the feeling of feeling like absolute shit, because I remember a couple of friends were filming down my shirt the first time I ever wore a V-neck. And I remember not being able to tell them to stop because I was so upset, and I had to get a male friend to tell them to stop and delete the video and explain why that wasn't cool. Yeah. I remember watching my female friends go through dating and then becoming a trophy piece of underwear that some guy was sharing with his friends, stealing it, being like, I got it, right? I remember false stories of people, boning me. And I remember, it's like one of the prizes of boyhood is the story you can share with your fellow boys about a girl, right? It's like a trophy piece of like a trophy story, a trophy artifact of some sort, right? Yeah. I remember, but I don't know specifically who it was, but I remember this instance happening, and I kind of blocked it out of my mind because it was like probably one of the worst things ever. Friends like at lunch, friends gathered around another friend watching a clip of a friend having sex with a girl who definitely did not know that the video was being taken. And subsequently spending the rest of my lunches inside of a teacher's classroom because I didn't know the girl and I didn't know how to tell her. I didn't know who she was. And I didn't know how to be sure that none of my other friends at the time have ever done that before or will continue to do it ever again, right? This isn't a story. This is the reality of girlhood, womanhood, and whatever neighborhood you might be in right now, right? That's real. Like, you don't have to navigate it through 3512. That's real, right? And scouting articles about pickup artists and their height, I saw some very reprehensible shit that didn't need fictional writing, right? I've read about people that I won't name at the moment, but can be found in what's linked in the linked in the script, what it's like to be hit on by a pickup artist, because a lot of them are right-leaning people who very much attack people online. So I'm gonna be like, do it, right? This article is by Gabby Best, and then How Pickup Artists Migrated from Malls to Dating Apps by Sarah Ratchford. This mentions the near dips into sexual assaults that pickup artists tend to take, which is like, you consented, but you didn't know, kind of thing, right? All of this is not brand new, but not yet old, even as pickup artists seem to have like retreated into something that isn't so necessarily overt. They're not magicians in a quad anymore, trying to get you to talk to them for 3 seconds because that will be the way to keep your time, right? It's not good to know that they're out there, but just changed their tactics, switch platforms kind of thing. In Ratchford's article, she speaks with University of Toronto's Jeff McDonald, who points out that the whole pickup artist deal isn't the illness, but is a symptom of a world that's deeply rooted in harm towards women. It would be hard to read SCP-35-12 and avoid the implications regarding the pickup artist community with the direct sort of like mention of like the pickup artist Bible, enigma, mystery kind of thing. It's hard to read it without thinking about that and the treatment of women. At the very least, you get a simmer of the nasty that is a little, you could be like, oh, I don't know anything about that, but this is a little bit like, oh, could this be misogyny? If you close your eyes sort of reading it, you could still kind of get the flavor of like, this is bad for women in some way, right? Injecting critique in popular fiction is not a brand new thing. But the concept is still very cool. Making the mundane more easily consumed by those who don't necessarily experience or look out for it through fiction, work like this can be very useful. For SCP-3512, whether this holds a mirror to your face as a misogynist or someone who's just not kind to women or something like that, or it reflects your experience as a woman in the world, 3512 is a very interesting read. Misogyny, done. You can listen again. We're back, baby. We're safe. We're good. Hey, welcome back. Yeah, that's 3512.
Wow. Okay. So was there any kind of, because I think in my head I relate pickup culture as kind of a predecessor to like incel culture. Did that
so Nick Strauss articles, it's like talking about who the audience is of the game, right? It's primarily like loner men who don't know how to interact with women, businessmen. So it's basically people who don't have like immediate direct access to women, but would like access to women and don't know how to navigate that in their own specific way. Right. And then it's like, because I remember sticking to Vice because I remembered Vice having a lot of coverage about like pickup artists when I was like back in like 2014, 2015 kind of thing. And then a lot of it is like the audience for it at the time definitely was like what we now are like, oh, these are right. Because the people that I did not mention that are in the What It's Like to Be Hit On by a Pickup Artist by Gabby Best article, some of the figures on there definitely have very anti-feminist views of like feminism gave strength to women, so they don't need men anymore, and here's how we can force them in submission. So a lot of the thoughts and ideas of the people who were or are still big names in the pickup artist community definitely exhibit like incel behavior. And then Nick Strauss sort of gets the whole like the community that relied on your book were definitely incels. Like Nick Strauss or like Neil Strauss, right now has done a sort of turn in several years later. The other book that he sort of released after this was called like The Truth, which is, I think when it was like published or like something like that, it was like a direct counter to the game where he was like, I have gone through like some sort of like therapy and sort of found my root as to why I was viewing women this way. I don't think that anymore. Whereas like Mystery, who was on the VH1 pickup artist show is still kind of going these days, right? He's trying to get back into the US to be like, hey guys, what's up? I can still teach you, kind of thing. And I was looking at one of like the sort of, I think it was like a free like forum class kind of thing where people can exchange ideas. It had like 1.5K members still in it, whether they're all active or not, or it's just like holdover from kind of thing. But like people are still in there. So yeah, it's definitely like, for at least the Neil Strauss articles that I read, it was like, oh yeah, your community like right now, like those are like, they would be considered insults. And he's like, I guess, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's almost like a pipeline of like the kind of guys that get into the incel thing or get into the pickup artist thing because they're like have maybe trouble talking to women. They develop this kind of feeling of like, well, they're not people. They're like a trophy to get. And then they maybe see that the pickup artist thing is not working, but they figure that it can't be the pickup artistry thing. It can't be, it has to be me, my bone structure or some shit. And then you get into like the cantle tilt, you have prey eyes. That's why you'll never find a woman. And the chin, you don't have the right chin. And it's like all of these kind of weird, like the pseudoscience of it and like the kind of like the adjacent study. I think the study bringing in like magic as this thing was really interesting in the SCP because it is like these guys who are like, I found the arcane knowledge of why no one will fuck me. And it's like, maybe if you just talk to people like a fucking human being.
Like consider that like if you feel like you need to be in a conversation and you would like someone to experience you as you are, maybe the other person you're talking to is also like wanting that same exact thing, right? And the magician thing is like both like magician, but it's like one of the strategies of like it's like you're in a quad, you're like, let me show you some magic tricks, and also like, what's up, baby? You know?
Which, I mean, that shows how the pickup artist shit is when you're like, pull a fucking little quarter out of their ear and they'll.
Where it's like, let me, hey girl, you want to see me with my fushigi ball tricks?
They cannot resist.
Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah,
fushigi, baby.
The fushigi balls didn't work. Must be my tilt. Must be my.
Let me check out my phrenology right now. Right. Where are my eyebrows? Where the shape of my? It must be the shape of my hair, girl. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's a truly bizarre thing to like. I must enter into these conversations with an agenda. I must always have, and I mean, because it is like. Again, like you talked about with like high school, it's so normal for guys to kind of like compare like sexual experiences and to brag and to make shit up too. And then it's like, I think that's why like young men are such a target of like grifter, groomer, creeps like Andrew Tate and Sneeko, is because there is like that thing where when you're a young man, you don't necessarily think of it as like a bad thing to be like, oh, I got a hand job, and you're like, it was crazy, bro. Like, but like the implications of that, like I remember like when I was a kid and my mom like first like used the phrase like rape culture, and I like just didn't understand it at all. And it was like, there is like that reaction of like, well, I'm not a rapist. Like I'm like a normal guy. Like I'm just like a fucking kid. Like, what do you mean I'm like a part of rape culture? And then like, it does require like more like education and kind of looking at the systems that you're a part of and the ways that you're complicit in it in an uncomfortable way, where the alternative is like, well, according to my magic pickup artist thing, or according to Andrew Tate, or according to Sneeko, it's just that like women are full of themselves. So like that's the real issue or whatever.
It's like at the time, if you're not like consciously thinking of it, it's just like a sense of community. It's just like comparison with my friends, right? It's like, I got cool new shoes. Oh, also this girl gave me like a hand job in the back of the lockers kind of thing. It's like, it's just story sharing, and you're not necessarily so like too aware so much of like, this is a violation of someone's privacy. You are making a spectacle of a moment between you and this individual who may not then know that she has been spread around as someone who has great risk game. Like everyone's now going to be like, let me go after that. You're just like, kind of like, oh, I had this like little moment. And like, you just like, I like, not to say that like the gals weren't like.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is like, it's not like it all has to be secret. Like there's obviously people talk about like what they do with like people, but the attitude of it being like a trophy, I think is the issue, because it does kind of dehumanize the other person and focuses more on like the act and the achievement of the act and getting that done, rather than like, oh yeah, like it's not like, generally speaking, when you're like with your guys, it's not like you're like, I think we're really like getting to know each other well, and like we're really like connecting on like a deeper level, bro. It's like pretty sick. Like it's always just like, yeah, bro, she like turned me off at the locker.
I was like, and if you guys hang out there, you might be able to see it, because like it's like the spectacle of like the whole thing. Like I said, like it's not like my friends, my lady friends weren't like. They're like, oh, definitely, but it's like, and it's not to say that like, oh, men don't have the emotional attachment to every single piece, because that also contributes to it, and like furthers the idea of like, oh, women are the only one who will have like a genuine like emotional connotation. Of course, there's like jackass women out there, like don't get but that kind of thing, and it's just like it's so crazy how like growing up with that, you're kind of like, oh, well, I guess that just happened, but then when you become like more cognizant of it in like places where it's not like too normalized, because it's like, okay, that happened at school, and like if that was happening now as an adult, and like a bunch of my like coworkers were like hanging around a little thing in exchange showing this video of like definitely like the girl did not know what's happening. I'm like, oh, that's bad, dog. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, right. And that's the thing, I think, is like partially that like of like that pipeline of kids getting radicalized into these weird like misogynist spaces, is that like to a certain extent that is like if you're talking to like a kid and you're like, and then you overhear them talking about like, oh, I took a video, you can just be like, hey man, that's not cool. You don't do that. That's not like an acceptable behavior, because it is like a thing where it's like you don't know that that's not acceptable necessarily. Like we're not taught, like the way that we talk about like consent, the way that we talk about all these things are not really at the level where they probably should be, right? We have like all this pushback to like anything that approaches like healthy sex education. So it's like there does need to be like discussion, and it's okay to like do something bad and learn from it. It's okay if you're like a young guy and you do something that's like not like, not like horrible, but like, oh, like don't take videos of like her, like that's not, just delete the picture and like don't do that again. Oh god, don't make it a community act of like, and show it to your friends. Like I understand, like you're a kid, but it's like you're a kid, it's okay that you still you can fuck up when you're a kid too. It's like, you fucked up, like don't do this again. Not like
it's a lot. Like I watched something that was mentioned like in a sense of like it's like you committing like a sort of sin or a mistake, but you didn't know prior that it was. So like it was like a kind of thing, you don't know it until you like someone explicitly tells you, versus like no one's telling you, so you just keep going because it invites like, oh yeah, you did a fucking fantastic in this forum of like, let's keep doing it.
Yeah, right. And the fact that there is like maybe not as many people out there being like, hey, let's talk about this. This is not really cool, like not quite acceptable. There's more dudes that are out there like, women are just like objects, bro. They're getting like way too in their heads. You gotta like just like the Andrew Tate, like you gotta like break them down and just fucking like, whereas there are people talking to your kids and your young guys about sex and intimacy in not healthy ways.
It's like, how do you get ahead of that?
Yeah.
As a parent, as a person. And I was going to bring up like the whole pushback and like talking about it at school, where like a lot of it is like happening. Like maybe these kids don't want to talk to their parents about like, like listen, that kind of thing. And it's like, for sure, that is what it is involved in, like, because I definitely had that stuff in middle school. Like they had like the group of like improv people like having us yell like penis and vagina, and then like discussions about like, this is a sexually transmitted disease, this is what that is, this is what a condom is, this is what like all those things are, but like definitely like that is needed, and then can be extended to like, here is where those things happen and what like kind of thing. It's just like,
I mean, there's a lot of discussions that still need to happen. I mean, that's always the push, is like that people are like, well, you're grooming kids. It's like, no, like teaching kids about like consent is like a net positive for everyone. That would be a better thing if we kind of get people to be like, they are other people. Like the people you're having sex with are also people with their own agency and individuality that needs to be respected as much as yours.
And it's like whether it's interactions with other people, but also like it's for your safety as well, to understand that like if there is something that's being done to you, shouldn't be being done to you, you should know that like this is something that you can like explicitly talk about with it. Like it's not just like don't do this to other people. It's like if it's happening to you, bestie,
right,
not good.
Yes, being able to recognize it. I mean, that's like the thing is like so many people will not realize, you don't realize what happened to you as a bad thing until like years later. That's like a very common thing as well. Just because you don't have the language for it, you're not taught about it, and then it's like, oh, I was being like groomed. So, no, totally, like that guy was being a creep.
And it's all bad. Like it's out there. Ugh.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Great up. Great
Oh,
upper episode. Yeah. I mean, also, yeah. I mean, we just like having Urban Dictionary as like your teacher. Cause like, that's the thing. It was like, when I was a kid, I remember being like, yeah, bro, I bet people really do like shit on cellophane and call it like a glass bottom
fuck
boat or
my
whatever.
life, right?
Like, it's like, that's not what happens, bro.
It's just like you think like as an adult, we're well into our adulthood, right? We're almost 30. That kind of thing. And you think about like the stuff that you were learning in school and who you were learning it from, and then like whether it was like people who have direct experience knowing it or they just like heard about it. So you're now hurting like the fifth definition of what the thing is. And then you're just coasting around the world like, I know what a blueberry waffle is.
Right, yeah.
From a guy who heard from
it's
a
like
guy.
You're learning from like other kids that are like Google shit.
Yeah, it's like it would be very embarrassing to be learning it from an adult, and I'm like, but I'm also like, I guess I'm hearing it from someone who either has looked it up, learned about it way more than I do, versus like Matt, who's like, I heard it from my cousin who was with a cousin, and you're like, it's embarrassing, but also like, great, I know about this, and now I'm like,
and it's not like this for the shock value as much as like it is when there's like a kid who's like, yeah, bro, I heard the craziest shit, like you gotta hear this, and it's like, that's not, well, obviously that's like how a lot of people learn about shit, but it's also like not a way that is like good. You're not getting good information, like
and it's also something like, if you're a kid, like you did want to like learn about it independently to like verify from like your friend who's not lying to you, and then you look it up online and then someone catches you and you're like, permanent embarrassed, red face, never gonna look at it again because like I can't talk to anyone about this thing that I heard because it is bad to talk. It's
embarrassing.
So it's like lots of things to tackle, lots of things to think about in these too, whether it be misogyny through saying you hate your fucking bitch ass wife or like one of the strategies that I saw, which I don't know, it was literally like putting a time constraint on the conversation in order to push someone to commit to something. Was like, oh, I actually have to go in like 2 minutes. So you have to like rush the conversation and like get a yes, get a no, right? And then like making everything happen like within like the 3 seconds of the interaction kind of thing. And I was just like, I'm like, I get when this is happening in a non like sexual like dating space of like, so you gotta rush to get an answer, a verification to someone about like this document, this project is like, oh well, it's gonna be done in like 3 minutes. Like you self-impose that on yourself, or like I need to get this in 3 days, or I'm like fucked, right? And then it's like someone's using it like I need to get this in like 2 minutes so I can go sleep with this woman. It's just like the strategies. I literally was like melting in my chair, like I don't be leaving the house.
I mean, it is like, so like, again, back to like embarrassment and like anxiety, where it's just like, it is a good way to like feel like you're in control of your anxiety, because you're like, I have the rules, I will stick to my 3-second opener followed by 2 minutes of conversation, and then I will secure the number. And it's like, I understand the appeal of that, because you are like anxious and like uncomfortable and like scared to talk to like a woman. But again, there's healthier ways to handle that
because like I'm not knocking it, because as someone who comes up with a script before I order things, or if I'm having like a conversation with someone on the phone, or like I need something from them, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say, and all of a sudden they turn and say something else. I'm like, I did not rehearse that in my brain. Now I have to fucking freestyle jazz this shit, improv it, right? Like there's a way that you could like learn out of that, and it's just like, woo, reading.
You're not a bad person if you felt like you wanted to read the game. There's better ways. Let's skip that. Go straight to the truth section of learning about that. Like,
and it's like, as someone who likes women as well, it's like you then have to like sort of like navigate. Like, do I do that as someone who's not a man? Right? Is this? Let me make sure to avoid acting like this when it comes to like women approaching, right? Or do I just eventually give up? Like, I recently saw like a TikTok video of this person saying that like my prospects, some woman, she was like, my prospects are completely done, because I am in a bigger body, and all I need to change is like lose weight, but I am still the person that I am. And then like those kinds of like these are every day I'm told that like men want this and this only and that kind of thing. But like the unfortunate fact is that I still am into a man and would love to have a husband and like someday. And then some of the comments were like, like, this is something that like you're going through, and like your sort of like reaction to it, I guess, is to like question yourself and like wonder how to like better yourself in a way that isn't like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and like lose weight and still be the same person, versus like, how are some men dealing with like this kind of thing of like, I am faced with this thing and I have zero prospects. Who do I blame? The prospects that I don't have. And then the comments are like, oh, well, look at her not turning into an incel versus like that kind of thing. And I was like, damn.
It does. It's like a thing where it's like, yeah, everybody has insecurities. And like, I feel like the overall incel thing is like feeling like you have the most insecurities and yours are the most valid and yours are the insurmountable ones that I would never, that's why I'm an incel, is because I'll never be able to get over this. Other people all have it easy compared to me. And like everyone has insecurities to a certain extent. And it always feels like insurmountable because it's your own thing. But like the woman who's feeling like uncomfortable because she's a little bigger, it's like there's, despite what you see on social media or media in general, it's like there are people that don't care about that. And like there's always people that don't care, but like your insecurities don't matter to them.
It's just like, I don't know, the world, as the people say on the Twitter /X, as the Zeets say, dating kind of getting funky out there. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Can only imagine.
How will I find a wife, everybody? My Instagram handle. Just kidding.
The DMs are open.
Are they? Don't. I'm not saying that I also have the magnetic Riz. My Riz is in the form of doing this podcast. If you think this is a great podcast and you're loving it, I can do this in real life, baby. I have a huge garden. We can be self-sustained.
Yeah, you just have a great garden.
Very ever been. Huge backyard. Lots of trees.
I'll wingman
Thank you so much. Ben has known me for 9 years. If you want to email us, be like, this is for Ben. How's JD as a human being?
That background has a lot of citrusy out there. You know what I mean?
If you really love vitamins, vitamin C, I got you. We have tangerines, we have limes, we have oranges, pomegranates. Yeah, bro, it wasn't woman when you were here, but we got pomegranate tree. We have onions.
Ladies, get in there.
Potatoes.
Yeah. Ladies and days.
I got roses. I don't even have to buy them for you. I can just, good morning. Beautiful. I'm so sorry. That is my Riz, everybody. I may need to pick up the game. Just kidding. No, I respect you. But I'm out here. I wake up. I respect women on a daily basis. Yeah. Let's go.
That's like the nefarious thing with like the wife guy thing, is I always feel like it's like, no, I really be respecting women, you know what I mean? Like, not like another guy. Like, that's like the energy there, which I fucking hate.
I will say, one of the wife guys I do trust, Ben. I've known him for a very long time. Okay. He's a great wife guy.
Please don't curse me or something.
Ben is a terrible friend.
I hate my fucking wife.
God. Where is she? Is she getting it? He's quoting Tim Allen.
That's it. This episode was written and produced by Ben and JD. For all our sources, please head to the website in the description below. If you'd like to reach out with a comment, suggestion, or share an experience with one of our topics today, send us a message at icecreamymeme@gmail.com. All the music for our podcast is provided by Yager Frank. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next.